for the last few weeks, letters have been arriving in my office. I was quite surprised to see one from His Majesty's Prison, Full Sutton. I'm a foreign national prisoner. I've been sentenced to 15 years and 6 months for GBH with intent, which I think means he's a gangster. Why won't you deport me? Please get rid of me. You'd save huge amounts of money. And then I get a one from an Indian. And he writes to me from HMP Ashfield. He says, I only came on a one-year visa, but I've been in prison now for 2 years. Please deport me. He makes the point that there are hundreds of foreign national prisoners like him who want to be deported. Another one came in today from Spain. Please deport me. I haven't seen my wife and kids for the last 3 years. Quite why they're all writing to me. I suppose they must see me as deporter-in-chief or something like that. But it's interesting that overnight, clearly these letters to me have been getting... There's obviously a campaign of some kind going on. Because overnight the government have announced they will start to deport foreign criminals rather more quickly. At the moment, we don't deport people until they're down to the last 18 months or so of the sentence they're going to serve. But I just wonder... will this ever actually happen? Will it be enacted? Will we start to get rid of people earlier? And why don't we just get rid of them on day one? Love your thoughts, please. Tweet #Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com. Well, who better than Sir Michael Ellis, the former Attorney General, to join me in the studio, along with Kwasi Kwarteng, former Conservative MP and Minister, and Susie Stride, former Labour SPAD. So... Michael, thank you for coming and joining us.
Great pleasure.
The fact that 12% of our prisons are foreigners, that I think we're at 88,000 prisoners at the moment, 98% capacity. Yep. We've been releasing loads of people on early release. We've watched them coming out, being picked up in Lamborghinis, champagne being sprayed around like Formula One winners, and very high reoffending rates, rapid reoffending rates. You've been in this position, you've looked at this. Why can't we get rid of foreign prisoners more quickly?
Well, frankly, it's in a nutshell, Nigel, it's because the government and successive governments have been too weak on this subject. And the way they've been too weak is because they will not put enough pressure on foreign governments to take back the offenders that should be with them. So Jamaica is an example. And they have many countries have simply refused. They simply say, well, thank you very much for your opinion on this matter, but no, we won't take them back. They can serve their sentence in your country. And if we are going to deport foreign offenders back to their home countries, we need to get permission from those countries to take them back. Otherwise, they simply won't receive them at the gate. That's the idea. And that's where it's gone wrong, because we now have thousands of foreign offenders. If we were to take a Donald Trump approach, he simply makes those countries an offer that they cannot refuse, and they end up, bowing to that demand. But we have been historically weak about it. And we keep giving, for example, more visas to those countries, and we keep giving international aid to those countries, and they keep saying no.
We do have levers here, don't we?
We do have levers, and we don't use them. Right. That's what it boils down to. But if the government...
And did you have... when you were in government, did you have this debate?
Well, it's not technically a matter for the Attorney General,
I know that,
but yes, it's the sort of thing that it was discussed and it should be discussed. But I think the problem we're increasingly seeing is the prisons are now more and more full, they're more and more at capacity. Sentences are actually starting to be lower in the first place because judges are being reminded that prisons are full. So it's having this knock-on effect. And this is what Shabana Mahmood now apparently wants to do, according to reports, the Minister, the Justice Minister of this government. And she wants to say, well, instead of only being released 18 months before the sentence expires, we want to start releasing them a bit before that, so halfway through a sentence or something. We'll have to wait to see what her announcement is. The idea is, and a sensible one, I have to say, to open up some more places. But it does beg the question, doesn't it, that if you can do it for 18 months, why not do it for longer? How much longer will you let them out for how much earlier in their sentence. So if a person is given a sentence of 4 years, do you want them to do 2.5 years and then the last 18 months back in their home country?
I want to get rid of them on day one. And why don't we do a recip deal with Albania and Jamaica? We'll take all your British prisoners and you take yours.
And that's the million-dollar question. And there's nothing to stop you from doing that if you're the government of the day, apart from your own wishes and your own strength of purpose with those foreign countries and saying to Albania or whichever other country it is, you're going to take these prisoners back, they are your nationals, and you're going to take them back. The only problem is, will people feel that justice hasn't been served? If an Albanian prisoner is given 4 years, or whatever country they come from, but on day one, instead of serving any of that 4 years, they then get sent to Albania, and then Albania doesn't incarcerate them, for example, or only incarcerates them for 1 year.
Well, I get that, but I think what I would say, the man on the street would say, the man in the pub tonight would say, and women, of course, too, would say, is, you know what, get rid of them, we don't want them, they're costing us a blooming fortune, and bar them from re-entering. This issue, politically, Suze, is interesting because there's no doubt when Labour say they've inherited a big problem, it's true. Yeah. They have. You know, we haven't built enough prisons, whatever, we can blame the last government, but things are where they are. Those scenes of early release were pretty abhorrent, weren't they? Yeah. And the reoffending rate's awful. Yeah. So Mahmood is obviously at least paying some lip service to this. The point being made by Michael Ellis is that if governments get tough, so for any of this to work, we need to get tough. Is this government capable of getting tough with any other foreign government?
I think 100%. I think, look, you can see, look, this is the right direction. People watching today are going to be like, why are we wasting money on this? So why are we letting people out of prison early? You know, why don't we have a justice system that's working? And, you know, I'm going to have to say we had 14 years of a Conservative government that didn't do the business. They didn't do the business on that. And I think, you know, this is good news today. This, you know, people want to hear this.
If it happens.
I think it will happen. And I'll tell you why I think it will happen. There's lots of reasons. A, because it's the right thing, but also because, you know, in this country, I think people are fed up and they want to see change. And they want to see that we're going to be tough.
No, but look, the broader problem isn't one of government. I mean, we haven't mentioned the ECHR, not that it's relevant here, but the culture of the human rights. You can see in a million, you know, immediately you start deporting people. There'll be a whole bunch of lawyers and there are your professional colleagues who will say we can't deport them to
It's not his fault.
No.
You know what Shakespeare said? It's always the lawyer's fault.
I'm just saying, there's a broader culture where if you deported someone to Jamaica, someone will object, oh, prisons in Jamaica aren't sufficiently of the standard that we need, it's inhumane to deport people to countries where they can't look after the prisons, all of that. Yes. And you're going to get that whole human rights.
Well, that's what we did have, and the point is we've got a new government, we've got a new Labour government.
But they won't do anything about it.
Well, I don't agree. I think, you know, the Labour Party have listened and they know where the country's at. And they know that people want to see change. I'm an optimist.
Susie, it's so endearing to at least meet somebody 1 year on who still believes in the government.
I don't think it is just me. I think we are bringing change to the country. I think, obviously, you know, change does take time. We've been in not even a year yet. But I do believe that we're going to be hard on this.
Well, OK, but the government has shown its colours. So on prisoners, you will remember, within 2 months, they let 5,000 people out, and that was where you saw the champagne and all of that. And so how is that government that let all those people out going to suddenly be tough and deport criminals?
I don't believe it. But the thing is, those decisions that we made then were because of what we had for 14 years of the Tories.
Let us return to the much maligned legal profession.
Lawyers, look, what it boils down to is this. Lawyers are not there to run the government. They shouldn't be there to run the government. They're there to be advisors. And this is where I think, you know, governments can go wrong, and we've seen examples of that. It shouldn't be to do with the ECHR, Nigel, this one, because if you're already sending prisoners back to Jamaica or back to their country of origin, if you're sending some back, it should be OK to send others back. It's not as though you're saying that a particular country, you're not trying to send prisoners back to Iran, for example. If a country is safe for a prisoner, it should be safe for all of those prisoners. So the determination that I think Shabana Mahmood is trying to make, if these reports are true, is that we should just bring back the time that they have to serve in this country so as to release some prison spaces. The other thing I think this government could look at is at the moment judges can't make deportation orders for prisoners unless they've been given a sentence of 12 months or more.
Yeah.
So why not look at actually saying, OK, even if you get 1 month in prison, you should be deported. You're not a desirable person for this country if you have been given a prison sentence.
Well, I think that
look
would
at
be
the threshold.
That would be enormously popular.
Yeah.
Kwasi does raise a good point, though. Whilst ECHR is not directly involved in this particular debate,
It gets its tentacles everywhere.
but
That's exactly right.
and it's part of the culture. I think that was the point Kwasi was making.
That's exactly right.
It's very interesting that now right across Europe there is criticism of, I suppose, judicial activism.
Yeah, the tide is turning very slowly.
David Blunkett, as Labour Home Secretary, could deport tens of thousands of people without any trouble at all. Is ECHR reform actually going to happen?
Well, it needs to happen. I mean, I've advocated about leaving the ECHR. Yeah. So, but the reality is that it's broken. The system is broken. There is now increasing judicial activism, and I say that as a former Attorney General. The truth of the matter is that judges are starting to make political decisions about some of these cases, and that is trouble for governments of all colours, by the way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. That's the same whether it's a Labour government or a Conservative government, or any other government, Nigel, that might come in, right?
Who knows?
But that would be a main blocking point, and that can't be the right approach. Lawyers are there to advise, and that's how it should be.
So right now, you think we have to either radical reform or we leave. Is that your position?
Yes, it is. In fact, I'm not sure whether it's reformable, frankly. I have my doubts as to the reformability of the process.
Is it reformable in your view?
I think it is. I think, I think one of the things that makes us great as a country is we do have human rights. We have a certain way that we treat people, etc. And I think it is important that there are standards there. However, institutions can be abused, and that is part of maybe what we're talking about here. I think it can be reformed, and I think we need to see, again, that we've been in government, for 12 months. Let's see what happens.
We did have human rights before the Human Rights Act.
We have Magna Carta. We don't need some...
And we wrote it...
We were practising human rights in this country when most of Europe were under dictatorship.
Well, actually, freedoms and liberties.
It's absolutely...
Kwasi, are you a leaver?
Look, I think we should probably leave the ECHR. I think we should leave the ECHR because it seems to me, not just on this issue, I mean, as it says, only tangential, but on the stopping the boats, on asylum seekers. The ECHR is like a straitjacket. And if we get rid of it, we'll have more freedom.
And let's face it, Rwanda failed because of this.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But I would say it won't be a panacea.
No,
it's not the only block.
I agree.
There are other blocks. There's other forms of judicial review.
And not to mention our own judges.
Well, that's right. That's right. And we are increasingly seeing, judicial review interfering with ministerial decisions, both at in Labour and in Conservative governments.
These are great battles for the future. Michael Ellis, thank you very much indeed. Nigel.